Hello again. It's easy to make a small mistake during training that has quite big knock-on effects. It doesn't take very much to knock things out of the routine. So I thought it might be useful to talk about 7 things that can go wrong. They're fairly general, so they should be relevant to most of you, and certainly they're relevant to me and most people that I work with. Firstly, it's important to start where you are, not where you want to be. And whether that's starting or taking steps along the way, each stepping stone you should consider your actual level of fitness and not think, oh, I should be at this level. So if you say you're following a training plan, the training plan might say that you should be able to do a certain speed, a certain average speed for a certain distance. Say you're aiming to have an FTP of 250 at this stage in your training, and you do a test and it turns out to be 230. Well, it's 230, it's not 250. So you then need to have a rethink. And the big problem is to just try and force things through without accepting where you are. I mean, obviously the opposite can happen, and you can be a lot fitter than you thought you might be. So your 250 watt FTP, you might actually be at 270 watts. And that can be a good thing, and it can also be a tricky thing, because the temptation is to push even harder, whereas actually it might be sensible to consolidate. So it's important to continually test, retest, reassess, and be as objective as possible, and make sure that you're working from where you are rather than where you want to be or where you think you should be. This can lead on to doing too much training or doing not enough training. And often doing not enough training comes off the back of doing too much training or being too ambitious or thinking working from where you want to be rather than where you are. Too much training is too much training for you now, not too much training for you as a person, because in 2 years' time you might be able to do 3 times as much as what you used to be able to do in the past. So that's probably one of the biggest pitfalls. Not starting where you are, not accepting your current fitness level and doing too much training for that current fitness level. And that can be either doing too much duration or too much intensity. A lot of people just go too fast. They do a lot of the training too fast, they get too tired. That means they can't do the higher intensity interval sessions properly, but it also means that they start to break down quite quickly. And then the third point is too little training. And too little training can often happen as a consequence of too much training, because you start to break down, you decide you have to back off, you lose motivation, things aren't working as you want them to work. You do a big session at the weekend maybe, you get really tired, so you don't do any training during the week, then you try again at the weekend. So you're basically inconsistent, you're not doing enough training to make a difference to your fitness levels. This can also happen, you can be doing too little training because, well, life gets in the way. You might be busy at work, you get home from work and you just want to sit and watch telly and have a cup of tea or have your evening meal. And as a consequence, the consistency goes out the window. You're just doing sporadic training sessions and they're not enough to build your fitness. The next thing is, don't try and do what the pros do if you're not a pro. If you're not a full-time athlete and you can't dedicate your non-training time to recovery time, then you won't be able to train as hard as these people, because they're extremely talented individuals and they're also, their whole life is built around training, recovery, training, recovery. Your buddy down the club might be doing 3 interval sessions a week. Well, it might be better for you to do 1 interval session a week. So don't sort of copy people. Do what seems sensible based on sensible fitness models, basically overload, recovery, adaptation, and then more overload, more recovery, more adaptation. So don't copy other people, learn from other people, understand the principles and change your training accordingly. The next one's not eating enough or not eating properly or not drinking enough, not drinking properly, because it's all about recovery and being properly fueled for your training sessions. And if you're trying to lose weight at the same time as you're trying to gain fitness, or particularly if you're trying to build strength, it's a good example actually. If you're trying to build strength, get stronger, you're trying to build muscle. So how can you build muscle if you don't have enough calories to build muscle? If you're basically trying to lose weight and gain weight in different areas at the same time. So you have to eat enough to fuel your training, and body, unless you're extremely overweight, weight isn't that important. It's something, nutrition's something that a lot of people focus on because you think it's quite a quick win. You don't have to train hard. It's not particularly unpleasant to eat things. So people think, people latch onto it and think, oh, it's magic. If I get my nutrition right, I'll be able to ride 10% faster. Well, you won't. You need to train properly, train sensibly, train consistently, and eat properly, eat a balanced diet that meets your nutritional needs. And of course, if you don't eat properly, if you don't have proper nutrition and hydration, then what could be the right amount of training for you can quickly become too much training for you. Things can break down and you're in this yo-yoing system, doing something, being inconsistent, overdoing it, underdoing it. Most people worry about the weight, what they're eating, and it's not really as important as we might think. Anyway, I've waffled on a bit there, so sorry about that. And the next one is not recovering enough from hard sessions or from big events. This time of year, I know a lot of you are ultra endurance cyclists, and you might have done a big event, or you might be coming up to a big event. And the important thing is to realise that it takes a hell of a long time to recover from these events, particularly in the weather that we've having around the northern hemisphere at the moment, where it is actually really hot. So if you're doing a big ultra endurance ride in high temperatures, you're taking a lot out of your body, you're pushing yourself close to the limits, and as a consequence it's going to take time to recover. And normally you feel quite well recovered quite quickly, but that doesn't mean to say you are okay, and it doesn't mean to say you're ready to start training again. And similarly, if you're doing long training sessions or hard training sessions, you need to, just because you might feel not so bad when you go and do your easy endurance ride to give things a little bit of test, it doesn't mean to say you're fully recovered. So don't rush back. Test things for a few weeks if it's a really big event. Build up gradually. And what a lot of people find, in fact I think probably most people find, is that they feel recovered quite quickly after an event or a very hard training session. And then a few days later, if it's a hard training session, then they start, the fatigue sort of catches up with them. It's like if you have a big training block and then you have a rest week, you quite feel really tired towards the end of that rest week. You think, well, actually I'm resting, so I should be feeling better. And similarly, from a long event, like a long bikepacking race, well, it can be, you might feel okay a couple of weeks after the event, but then like 4 weeks after, you might feel tired. So just be wary of that, and that's happened to most people. And that's it. Start from where you are, not where you want to be, where you think you should be, or where you were 20 years ago. You need to start where you are, build up gradually, and don't do too much. Also, don't do too little. Consistency is the most important thing. So being a bit under-trained is much better than being overtrained. So do something that is sustainable and consistent. Don't worry about the magic sessions. Don't follow fads. Just do good, solid training where you stress your system and recover from it, adapt by eating properly. If you're not a professional athlete, don't try and train like a professional athlete. Try and train like the athlete that you are. And by understanding your body and being consistent, you'll be much more effective than if you just tried to do super hard training. Just being consistent and building gradually. One hard session a week might be plenty for you. Some people might, your buddies might do 3 hard sessions a week, but by being consistent and getting really good quality training in and building as much volume around that as possible is going to be what gets you to beat these guys who are allegedly training harder. Consistency is vitally important, and being sensible about it is the magic, really, that you're looking for. There is no magic, but the magic is just being consistent. Not eating enough can be a big problem that makes the right amount of training too much training. It can lead to inconsistency, it can lead to illness, and it can lead to severe illness and overtraining, chronic overtraining syndrome, if you don't fuel your body correctly. If you do a big training session or you do a big race, make sure you recover properly from it. And bear in mind that it takes a long time. You might feel recovered quite quickly afterwards, and then you might hit a bad patch, and just bear in mind that that might be a consequence of your event, and you need to take the time to be recovered properly. If you've got any questions, let me know in the comments. If you want to work with me, I'd love to work with you. I love coaching people. I love interacting informally. A couple of people have emailed me this week, and it's been great to get to know them, share a few ideas and help them, and hopefully they'll progress. If you want me to coach you, or if you want to join our cycling club or our running club, then drop me an email, make a comment, and look on our website, endurancecyclists and runners.com. Okay, sales pitch over. See you next time. Bye.